Well, welcome everyone. It's a pleasure to be here again. We have an amazing set of panelists, and first of all, we want to thank the Orange County Arts Council for putting these events together. Sarah McKay and Gretchen. I mean, these guys do such amazing work, and without them, there's not this. Also want to thank the panelists, which I'm going to introduce in a couple of minutes. And want to thank you guys for the audience for coming in and listening to this, because again, without you guys, you guys are the reason why we're doing this. To that note, I would like to remind everyone that things like this, happen because of the goodness of your heart. So, donations are always welcome. Just keep us always in mind, the Orange County Art Council, so we can keep doing these amazing things. Today we have like a very interesting set of panelists. We have one panelist that is maybe running late. She may just come in. But we have Amanda Dana, Director of Tourism Film, President of Hudson Valley Tourism. Welcome, Amanda. And also we have Anthony Davidowitz, Deputy Director of Operations, Administrations, and Legal Affairs at Storm King Arts Center. Anthony also serves on various boards, including the Orange County Arts Council, the Town of Cornwall Economic Development Advisory Committee, and Anthony has recently been appointed to the New York State Tourism Advisory Council. And the views expressed in this panel are his own. So with that said, I want to welcome everyone, and I'm going to kind of like address the panelists, Amanda and Anthony, for a second. And why don't you, maybe we start with Amanda and then we'll go to Anthony. Amanda, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and about the organization that you work at?
Of course, thank you so much for that. So first and foremost, Amanda Dana. I am the Director of Orange County Tourism and Film for Orange County, of course. And I hold that role now. I'm reaching my 3-year anniversary. Imagine that, 3 years on the job. I can't say I'm a newbie anymore, but I spent some time, 5 years in economic development before that, spent some time doing commercial and residential real estate. And prior to that, I was an executive recruiter in banking and finance. Imagine that. I chose a real exciting field there, but I was a big time recruiter, a C-level recruiter for that, but had a lot of kids, had 4 kids, decided to have a career around, have a little more flexibility. And now I'm back into tourism and hospitality, which I absolutely love. I'm also, as you mentioned, the president of Hudson Valley Tourism, which is a 10-county region up and down the Hudson River. We've got the east side of the river and the Wild West, which is what Orange County is on, I call it. And also, I've just been asked to be on the board of Hudson Valley Economic Development Corp. So I am on that board. I head up their hospitality and tourism committee. So I'm really entrenched into the tourism world. And thank you again for having me on. I guess I should just start off by saying that the Orange County Tourism Office, obviously it's a government entity, and we are funded by visitor dollars. So people say, what do you mean by that? I said, okay, we are funded by what people like to call bed tax. So when people come into our county and they go to our lodging partners, they pay something called an occupancy fee. That occupancy fee is what funds the Tourism and Film Office. So folks say to me like, oh, well, maybe we don't want to spend that kind of money on marketing or this or that. And I said, well, you're not actually, visitors are. So it's really a good place to be. And a lot of people don't know that, but I always take these opportunities to kind of educate and talk about that. We have been changing our mission a little bit since when I first got here, because we do not want to be just a day tripping community. We want to encourage visitors to come here and spend time here. So how do you do that? You actually attract the visitors that have to drive further. It kind of makes a little sense, right? So we are focusing on drive markets to bring them here and offering itineraries and things to do. Often, which we'll hear from Anthony shortly, is that we put different types of sites and activities into our itineraries, and they come and they just want to stay longer. And it really helps that we have such a diverse tourism industry here, that we can have arts and culture, history, craft beverages is really huge for us right now. Of course, the arts, of course, recreation, Legoland, which we probably can talk to a little bit later about that and how we can capitalize on attractions such as Legoland. But we have a very diverse platform for tourism, and we're very fortunate to be in the location that we are right now, which is just outside New York City, which people do consider Orange County a destination. And so that makes us in a very convenient location. I know I could talk for hours about what I do and what we do, but I would like to make sure I pause for a second so that.
No problem. Thank you so much. I mean, this is so interesting though. And we're gonna, about some of the things that you just mentioned, Amanda, we'll probably come back and maybe talk in a little more depth. Absolutely. Thank you so much. And Anthony, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and about the organizations that you work for?
Sure. And I think our third panelist has joined as well, so she can go next. So I'm Anthony. I've been at Stone King and in the Hudson Valley for about 10 years. Stone King Art Center, for those of you who don't know, is a 500-acre sculpture park just north of West Point, south of Newburgh. Pre-pandemic, we were welcoming just over 200,000 people a year. Last year, obviously, was the anomaly that sent everyone into a tailspin. We were able to open on, I think, the 7th of July, and actually had a terrific year, and maybe something we can talk about later is lessons learned in tourism and in the cultural space generally that can be carried forward. Stone King has just celebrated its 65th anniversary, or 62nd anniversary, and was recently, as recently as 2 weeks ago, had a full page spread in the New York Times for our new commission, Sarah Z, which opens has a soft opening this week and then opens a week from now. So we've continued, Stone King's continued our work. It's been very interesting working in the cultural space. We've been very lucky because we are an outdoor destination. And so although Amanda knows, because I emailed and phoned her panicked at the beginning of lockdown, we, like everyone, were limited in what we were able to do. But because we're an outdoor site, we were able to do what a number of sites in the Hudson Valley and Orange County could do, which is provide sort of outdoor respite for people. And last year, I think more than any of my 10 years, I saw both at Stone King, but for arts and cultural programming generally, and I think the Arts Council was a real thought leader in this, the positive psychological impact that arts and culture and being outdoors and having connections like this virtually brought to people in the midst of lockdown. I think one of the numbers that I saw was that more than 80% of people in America saw the arts as a psychological benefit and something they sought out during the lockdown. So it's certainly a privilege to have been able to not only be part of an organization that provided that outdoor escape, but also to be in a region where we are, as Amanda said, so rich and had so many places that we're able to pivot and take our craft and art online. Absolutely.
Thank you so much. And I just saw that we have Barbara Martinez is here. Hello, Barbara, welcome. Barbara is our third panelist, is the CEO of BMG Marketing and Promotions and partner of Emporium Square Artisan Market. Barbara, welcome. So I would like you to perhaps tell us a little bit about yourself and about the place that you work for.
Hi, well, hello everyone. Forgive me for all the craziness that was going on while I was trying to get to you. My son has prom.
Oh, okay.
And so it was one of those, try to get him ready for prom and come do this at the same time. The life of a single mom. So my name is Barbara Martinez. I am the executive director of BMG Marketing and Promotions. It's my own agency. I am also co-owner and founder of Emporium Square Artisan Market, which is located in Middletown. And we opened our doors in August during the middle of the pandemic. Because, of course, if I didn't need a challenge of being a single mom, I also wanted to add that as well.
Yeah, for sure.
And I just recently opened my first small business, not that BMG isn't one, but one that is actually very physical, which is La Taza Cafe, located at Emporium Square. Last weekend, we had our soft opening, which was amazing. And
Oh, wow.
this weekend, which added to prom and doing this with you guys, I need to get myself together to have my grand opening tomorrow for the ribbon cutting of La Taza Cafe. Emporium Square, which is really my focus, is a way for me to, I used to be the executive director of the Goshen Chamber of Commerce. And during the pandemic, I was approached by so many local businesses asking me for help. How do I help them save their business? How do I make it possible for them to continue to live their dream? And I didn't have the answers. Nobody did. I mean, it happened so quickly. Senators couldn't tell you. It was something that we just were not prepared for. And I wasn't prepared to just give up on my members. So when I found Emporium Square, it was light bulb. This is an opportunity for me to allow small businesses to continue to thrive and keep their business alive without the crippling overhead costs of a brick and mortar. And so Emporium Square became the marketplace where small businesses gather together, and potentially we may have saved local businesses here in Orange County. It's been up and down. It's not the easiest tasks, but it is well worth it. We've been doing it since August. And on top of that, I decided, I know art is really dear in my heart. My brother is one of those starving artists. And Emporium is a huge facility, a lot of white walls. And I thought, how can I beautify my space, my home, and also support the local arts? So I opened Emporium Square as a place where local artists can take their art out of their garage and put it in a place for free. You don't pay me a dime. I don't take a commission. If you sell something, it's great. I can even transact the sale for you. And at the same time, I'll help promote that your art is here. So it was a way of not only keeping art alive during the pandemic, but also trying to keep small businesses active during the pandemic and giving people hope. I mean, the pandemic fostered a lot of small businesses that got very creative, and because they were either on furlough or unemployed, they decided they wanted to buy a Cricut and maybe start making shirts. So Emporium was the place that really, and I hope will continue to support all the local artists, the crafters, the makers, the creators. And that's what we are. We're an artisan market, and I am very proud and honored to be able to be part of this project. And that's why I juggle so many parts, because when it's all about passion and love, it's not a work, it's what you love to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, 2020, like you guys said, like all three of you guys said, I mean, there really was no precedent to it. Like, oh, we did this in the previous pandemic, let's do it again this time and it will work, right? Everyone got, had to get creative and stuff like that. And, to tell the truth, like, we all know, like, Orange County has appeal to tourists. Orange County has so many different things to offer, right? So you guys a little bit answer in your introductions this question, but maybe you can explain a little more. How did you maintain the interest during 2020? Because I tell you, like, even from personal experience, like, I didn't go anywhere. You know what I mean? So how did you guys maintain that interest, and what did you guys, how did you go about it? You can stay, Amanda, you can start first if you wouldn't mind.
Sure. So it was, at first it was incredibly scary, as you can imagine. Everything about what tourism and hospitality is getting people together, congregations, events, and having that just being stripped away suddenly was almost, it was unimaginable. However, once we started realizing the trends of people, because frankly, you might be able to separate people, but you can't stop people from having adventures. You can't stop people from traveling or hiking or do things outside. So what did we do? We started to push our outdoor adventures. We pivoted. We encouraged walks on our heritage trail. We encouraged hikes on our various paths in Orange County. We had many sends out to thousands of people about paths and parks and hiking and you name it. And guess what? We felt a lot of people coming into Orange County for that reason. We felt a surge from the metro market that people wanted to get out of New York City and come into the country, as they call it, and be here. So we decided to focus our marketing initiatives on that, and it became very successful. So in a way, yes, our events were down and congregations weren't happening, but we found a way to encourage people to be here. So.
And David, for Anthony, I'm sorry, Anthony, and for you, you know, Stone King being an outdoor space, what did you guys change anything? Like, for example, I know other outdoor venues that really did some major changes to accommodate, like, you know, people being away from each other and all that stuff. What did you guys do to maintain that interest into your venues?
So we, like many organizations, and again, I'd add the Arts Council to this, had it was a good opportunity to think about who our communities are and set out to meet them where they are. So not only were knowing that we were Stone King limited by our capacity, even though we have 500 acres, the way the rules were written, we still had some limitations placed on us. So we knew that we were only ever going to welcome fewer people, but we wanted to try to welcome as many as we could. So we expanded our hours of opening, we expanded the days we were opening. We had to remove some of our amenities, which we didn't feel we could keep adequately sanitized or safe for our staff and for our visitors. So it was sort of a pared down experience, but we actually had incredible demand, and all outdoor cultural organizations did. So we were very lucky with that. But we also realized, as Amanda said, that there was a lack of congregation. People were traveling, but they were doing it either in their pods or in an isolated way. We knew that our school partners in Newburgh and beyond weren't going to be able to come and visit Stone King. We didn't want to lose the momentum and the contacts with our community. So much like the Arts Council, we looked at our education program. We looked at what we could put online and how we could keep engaging people, whether that was through social media, through panels with artists and landscapers. And as you know, or as we've all experienced over the last year, having 20 people or 100 people sitting under a tent listening to a talk is great. But when you take that same compelling educational offering and you shift it online, you might have 100 people. And we had events where we were having participants in Europe and participants in Hawaii at the same time. So we felt actually that it was a really great opportunity to broaden our reach, broaden the communities that we serve, that we want to be partners with. And the Arts Council through programs like this have done the same. As we sort of pivot back to what does post-COVID look like, I think a lot of those lessons learned should hopefully be brought in. You know, Amanda's not just going to go back to advertising congregations. We know that there is such a great market for the outdoor elements of Orange County, and so how those new links that we've made, those new communities that we've reached, all of us, and the ones that Barbara is setting out to meet now, how we did things in the past. I think many of those things are going to seem anachronistic when we look back 5 years from now and say, well, of course we should have had hybrid meetings that we can have participants in, Orange County, California, be part of as well.
No, absolutely. That makes total sense. I mean, I think like when things go back to normal, right, there's still going to be a big remnants of like things that we learned throughout this whole time, and things may be slightly different. You know what I mean? I feel. So Barbara, I commend you for starting your business in the middle of the pandemic. How did you go about, how do you maintain that interest in your business? And, now you have to deal with social distancing and all that stuff. What did you guys do?
Oddly enough, Emporium was born out of the necessity because of the pandemic. So you hear these stories of new ideas or things being born because of a pandemic. We talk about making lemonade out of lemons. we created an Emporium because we needed it. Businesses needed it. It was exactly the way we pivoted the way of doing business. And it was very difficult, of course, because, you know, of course, you got to social distance and stay at home and stay in place. But the facility lent itself to providing a safe environment for small businesses to build out and to give them an opportunity, because we did it in August, to start shifting out of homes and still, you know, changing from an environment where you were working a 9 to 5 to potentially an environment where you're making the dream of wanting to own your own business a reality. This was the opportunity. There are many people that think about, or they wish that they can start their own business, right? But you put it aside because you got your 9 to 5 and you got your office work that you have to go to. During the pandemic, it made it possible for you to say, now that I am kind of still, maybe I'll give this a try. And how do I do it? Emporium is here. So we are like incubators. Many small businesses that walked through my door weren't a small business at all. They were an idea. They didn't know what it was to get a business license. They had no idea what a certificate of authority was. Insurance? What are you talking about? So website, Facebook. So these are things that, as an incubating business, I walked a lot of these businesses that had an idea and said, I really love to do macrame. How do I turn that into a business? And we sat down and said, how about you try this? And what are you going to call it? And let's get you your license. And let's do all these things. So a lot of these businesses that came in weren't businesses at all until they came in through our doors. And one of the main things that I taught them was website and e-commerce. How do you not only have a space where you can create, but a space of your businesses that will reach beyond the borders of Orange County, all of Hudson Valley, even to California, and make it a viable e-commerce business. So it really is Emporium. Unlike anything else, we didn't really have to shift. We just kind of were born because of the pandemic.
Yeah. I mean, it just sounds like, in a way, there was a lot of opportunities that opened up, almost like you guys thrived on the pandemic in a way. So was that, did the pandemic, in a weird way, I know some people wanted to know, did that open any other, opportunities for your organizations? Amanda, did the pandemic, I tell you from personal experience, the pandemic, I hate to say it, but I kind of thrived in it, because I didn't have to commute anymore. I saved all tons of money in commuting. I was paying between the Washington Bridge and the Throg Snack and whatnot, $50 or $30 a day in tolls. I didn't have to do it anymore. I actually thrived during the pandemic. You know what I mean? What about, did you find new opportunities for your business throughout this pandemic?
Yes. To add to what you said, since folks were in not working their 9 to 5, so to speak, in their offices, and they were home, they had some time to think and plan, which was great. So to add to that, we had a tremendous amount of travel writers coming to the tourism office, coming to us and asking us 5, 6, 10, 20 inquiries a week during COVID. So my team said, well, we're not going to let one of these writers get by without giving them a touch. So if something really good came out of that, it came the fact that we were laser focused on making sure we submitted content to all of these travel writers who were frankly looking for stories, looking for great things to do. And luckily it's Orange County, so we had a lot of things to add. And we never let one writer go by. If a writer got by and I didn't get back to them, it was almost like it hurt me. We had to make sure we got to the travel writer. So if that could be one thing I can say, is that we really started a good relationship with a lot of writers over the pandemic.
Right.
So that's a good thing that's happened. So, yeah.
And what about Anthony, for you?
A couple of things, and again, lessons learned, and Amanda, I'm sure you're seeing a sort of a slow shift as we reopen in some of your areas. So we definitely took advantage of weekday attendance. There were people who were, I'm sure, taking paid time off and not just leaving their home offices, not telling anyone. But we definitely had sort of half-day trips, people bringing their families during lockdown. And taking advantage of that, and we've facilitated that, and we'll continue to facilitate it by timed ticketing, which I think has given a more manageable experience and a more predictable experience to Storm King staff, but also to our visitors. So we try to balance out our visitation from weekdays into from weekends into weekdays. But I think building on something that Barbara said a moment ago, and something that's super relevant to artists who are, let's remember, small business owners, is that sense of sort of cooperation. Right? We were told over and over and over, we're in this together. We're going to get through the pandemic together. I think it's really remarkable what Barbara has done and is doing by giving opportunities, as she said, to taking things that might not even be businesses yet, just ideas, and getting that sense of cooperation. The art market has, the market for artists has suffered. The market for the creative community in Orange County and all over America has suffered. One of the figures I saw was that an average artist lost 38% of their income last year. That's huge. Yeah. And by both Storm King, by Amanda reaching out, making sure being laser focused on travel writers, making sure not one got through, by Barbara getting the Emporium together and getting into knowledge sharing as well as venue sharing. I think those are sort of critical things, and again, takeaways for post-pandemic life. It is easier for a group of artists to succeed and to knowledge share than it is for an individual. And it's been very successful in Orange County for artists. But I mean, Amanda, you mentioned cidery earlier. The group knowledge that Glenwood Farms put out to get the cider industry going, sharing knowledge amongst small farm holders. It's a model that has succeeded over and over in our area, and it's one that I hope people like Barbara will be able to continue.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. So the next thing that I was thinking about, like, the people were wondering. You guys kind of explained a little bit, kind of give some ideas, but like, there is an influx. I see it here, like even in the town where I am, a lot of people coming from New York City. Not only people coming from New York City just for the weekend or whatever, but also moving in here and inviting their friends and things like that. Since COVID has hit like the artist community quite hard, right? How do you think, like, how can these, how can they connect with this tourist, with this influx of tourists? How can artists connect? I mean, Barbara, like, you have actually already doing things like this that you talked about, like you have all for your walls and your space and things like that, right? But is there any other ways in which artists can connect with all these people coming into the county? Amanda, you want to take this?
Sure. So let's just talk about some of the obvious things that we could think about. Well, how do visitors come here? Like, what mode of transportation do they use to get here? When our airport had more capacity, that would be a very good way to get the message of our art and culture industry out there. And in fact, that's still something that we should talk about and collaborate with. The New York Stewart International Airport is very receptive to local artists to display their work there. And if I could help in any way, shape, or form make that connection, I certainly will do that. So let's talk about other modes of transportation. Let's talk about Uber. Let's talk about Zipcars. Let's talk about Port Authority. Perhaps we can have an installation or something in Port Authority, or collaborate with Port Authority or coach buses to see if we can do some collaborations. People will be traveling again on buses. People will be traveling on airplanes. They will be doing this. I know it right now. It's like, eeks, who's doing that? They will be doing that. So let's start planning here instead of thinking here. So transportation is one way I think is a great way to start really getting that word out. The other way is also events. I said the E word, that's right, events. Events are coming back. People are congregating. And what happens when people congregate and come to events? They're very receptive to learning more about the area that they're in. That's a perfect segue for arts and culture, for the Arts Council to really get engaged. I am happy to make any introductions that I can. I'm happy to bring you guys with me when I'm doing some booths or for some trade shows. I'm happy to bring you along with me. And I think that's a great way to really get your message out. And finally, one last thing I should say is press releases. If we could do some press releases together, or even if you do press release on your own, a good story that involves arts and tourism is really something I think would be a great message to get out there. So happy to work with the Arts Council on that. But those are just some ideas I have as far as answering that question. So.
Great. Anthony, any thoughts on this?
I think we're all maybe singing from the same hymnal right now. We're all talking about sort of cooperative models and working together to the tide raises all boats. I think Amanda's sort of spot on with that. I certainly commend the work that Steve Newhouse and Amanda and Bill Fioravanti have been doing to re-energize Stewart Airport. I think it's moving in a positive direction, particularly from where it was a year ago, where I think everyone was a little panicked. So I think getting that international tourism back in is important. But for artists specifically, Orange County is a diverse place, as Amanda said, from the river to the hills. But I really think that element of supporting each other and supporting the infrastructure that we have is critical. Orange County is well below the New York average in terms of the number of the percentage of employment. Orange County, about 2% of people are employed in the arts and cultural space. In New York State as a whole, it's 10%. We've got over 750 active arts and cultural entities in Orange County, and we've got an arts council which does reach from river to hills, the hills of Port Jervis. So
the river, actually.
It is another river. It's river to river. There we go. River to river. Yeah, I like that. So in making sure that we are supporting each other and supporting the infrastructure that's here, as Amanda goes out to or is contacted for filming locations, it's not like she just has 2 or 3. She's trying to get those opportunities throughout the county. The Arts Council is trying to reach artists throughout the county and work with organizations like Amanda and like Barbara's to see where there are opportunities. I think as events start up again, as there are more white walls, as places like the Emporium open and get more traffic, as Stewart opens and get more traffic, we should all, from legislators right down to cultural institutions to shop owners, should be thinking about how do we benefit our community as a whole. And our community as a whole are the people who are coming for hiking, the people who are coming for Legoland, the people who are coming for the art and cultural experience of Orange County. We offer that breadth. Let's make sure as we are planning and looking ahead and looking for opportunities, we're doing it in partnership and in lockstep.
Right. You just mentioned Legoland, so I want to talk to Barbara first, and maybe Barbara, you can tell a little more, and then we'll come back to Legoland. What other things is Emporium offering to local artists and things like that? So a way for them to reach this tourist or reach more people.
Well, Emporium, being the infant in this group, has been actually focused on the local artists and promoting them since day one, since we opened our doors. Right. What we want the artists is to take pride in the fact that they have chosen to make Emporium their home and invite people to come and check out their artwork, put together a showcase. If you want to hold a private event, Emporium is here at your disposal to do it at no additional cost to the artist. Today, on my show, I mentioned how Emporium is going to make it possible for people to network again in a very private location, so you can do it safely and you don't have to worry about being in the middle of the public, because you can do it at Emporium Square, and we will do it very VIP for people. But I think what Anthony mentioned is very important. The collaboration between the different agencies or organizations right here in Orange County that have something to offer. See, my ultimate goal for Emporium is to be a destination. I want people to think about Emporium as the place to visit, not just to shop, but a place to walk around, a place to enjoy art, because you have so many different types of art in one. I mean, I think about have 30 artists in here. So I want people to, we want to be a marker, a place, a location to go to. And in turn, Emporium also wants to highlight what we do have, like Storm King Art Center and Woodbury Common and, you know, Orange County Tourism and Legoland. We want to be able to say, you know, if you're here, we can also tell you what else is out there. Just like you would go to any visiting welcome center. And we want to be the conduit for that as well, because in order for people to eat, stay, and play here, they have to know what's going on. And so we want to be a part of that. And anything that has to do with collaborative, that's what I do. I've been doing it for so many years. I want to collaborate with people, and I'm hungry to get people to really network, connect, make those connections, and make Orange County their home.
That's great. Thank you. So to that extent, you know, we have Legoland here, right? How do you feel Legoland is going to affect tourism? And then also, how can we, or can either artists or like businesses or things like that, how can they invite those visitors to the attractions that we have? How can we almost like redirect, they come to Legoland, how can we redirect them into all our other amazing attractions, coming to Storm King or this or that, galleries, local galleries? What ideas do you guys have for that? Or what marketing channels can they use, you know?
So I guess I'll take this one just for now. So to answer your question, what impact will Legoland have on our economy? A tremendous impact, it will be bringing close to 10,000 visitors a day to the region, to the county. So that is a lot of folks that are very receptive to being entertained, to having fun. They're not coming up here on a business trip. They're coming here to have fun. So they're very receptive to that. So what types of opportunities should we talk about? Perhaps we should talk about, is there a chance for local artists to have any types of presence at the park? That might be something we can discuss. Perhaps it could be something we do. Maybe it's an artist that focuses on cartoons or something for age-appropriate artwork, and so that we can talk about. But secondly, one thing that the tourism office is doing is that we are capitalizing on their huge network. So Merlin Entertainment's Legoland has thousands and thousands and thousands of followers, if not millions of followers. What we have chose to do is collaborate with them on some social media initiatives so that we are with them when they push out. So what happens then? People come to our website and then they see all of our attractions, which includes arts and culture. So that's a way that we said, you know what, let's capitalize on their network and let's bring more people to us to collaborate in that way. So if that makes any sense, we're using them and their network to bring more people to our attractions, which very often is a Storm King, or it's a craft beverage, or it's West Point. But it brings people to those activities and those sites.
Yeah, you know, that's a good point, because sometimes it's like you don't always have to reinvent the wheel. You know what I mean? But how far do you think that people come to Legoland? How far would they travel from Legoland? Like, I'm thinking like a little different, but years ago I went to Disney. I did not drive very far out of Disney. I went to Disney and then I drove maybe like any attractions that were like maybe 15, 20 minutes around. But and you know, Hudson Valley is quite large. Like, how can we redirect or entice these people that are going to come to one area to kind of travel a little farther and spread to other places?
So again, I'll answer that again, not to hog up the panel, but I will just let you know that Orange County is the perfect size for that. because it's just big enough where they will seek out and go to various places in the county. Yes, our county is large, but they will definitely go up to the Emporium. They will definitely go to Storm King. It just is, in fact, I have a fun fact to tell you. We have programmed their Google Nest. I don't know if you guys know what that is, but they do not have telephones in their rooms. In fact, they have a Google Nest. What does that mean? It means like a Google Home. And they said, hey, Google, show me where our Artisan Market is. And it says, oh, Emporium Square. That is 8.2 miles, and it'll tell you exactly where it is. And guess what? The tourism office programmed that. So we're really excited. So we got to program the top 2 answers that come out of the Google Nest. And so that's a good way for us to make sure that those visitors that are staying in the Legoland Hotel are going to our attractions. It's just a great technology. We're very happy to be part of it. So
great. And Anthony, do you feel that Legoland will bring more people to Storm King, or do you think that the market there is like a little bit different? People that come to Legoland, people that go to Storm King.
I'm still having trouble with the Google Nest in rooms. It's like both really cool and super creepy. So the whether you are talking about art or you're talking about tourism, there are multiple market segments within these categories, right? We think about art, we think about the person who painted the paint on the wall, but are we also thinking about the entertainment venues and operations? Are we thinking about the people who are the creatives who are supporting Legoland? So do I think that there is going to be an overlap in destination tourism for Legoland? Yes. I have no idea how big it's going to be. Whether it is people going up to Legoland for a day or a night and then going back, as they do very often for Woodbury Commons, or if there is more sort of seepage out into the county. I think a lot of that is for us to say, any organization, whether it is Legoland or Storm King or the Emporium, right? You want to keep and generate as many dollars within your organization as you can. And so this is, I think, where that opportunity for raising the overall tide comes up. Storm King does not have a cidery. Storm King does not provide the Main Street town of Cornwall experience. So when we see opportunities to distribute our visitors around, we really take them. Amanda, with the itinerary work that she and her team have put out, that's something that's reflected on a much smaller scale on Storm King. When people come to our website and they talk about visiting Storm King, there's a direct link to say, if you're visiting us, go visit Cornwall, because here are the 3 or 4 great hikes. Here are the 3 or 4 places to get a really good cup of coffee. Not saying that Storm King coffee isn't good. It's just other places might make it better. And so, again, that sense of like, it's not just us, it's all of us. And if we can promote each other, I think there's a lot of opportunity. With that, and an experience that we've had with Woodbury Commons traffic is, and I say this partially anecdotally, not everyone who visits Woodbury Commons made the decision or wants to be there. I have visited Woodbury Commons many times because somebody else wanted to buy something and I was the tag-along. The tag-alongs are actually really important, and being able to offer that broader experience for you and yours is something that we, from a marketing perspective, have picked up on and used in the past. And with Amanda saying things like, go here, we're at the top, we can program the top 2 things when your room talks to you. Making sure that we are advertising the fact that there is a broad range of arts and culture in Orange County. There are a broad range of opportunities, whether it's Storm King or going to live music in Newburgh.
Great. Thank you, Anthony. And Barbara, forgive me, but how far is Emporium, let's say, from Legoland? And do you think that you could capitalize on Legoland in some way, shape, or form?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Am I there? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's,
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So listen, I'm a mom, 2 boys, and I would go to Hershey Park.
right.
And after Hershey Park, I was looking for something else to do.
Yeah.
So I would travel. I was that person that took my kids to travel the area to see what else was going on. And when I ran the Goshen Chamber of Commerce, one of the things that I impressed upon all of my members was making sure your Google My Business was up to date. Because at the end of the day, when somebody's visiting Legoland and they want to find some place, let it be a Mexican restaurant, they're going to Google it. And if you don't have a good Google presence or strength, guess what? They're going to end up driving somewhere else instead of to your Mexican restaurant. So one of the things that we do here in terms of not only curating business is also walking all of my merchants to Google My Business. We have a really strong Google presence. We're very greatly highlighted in our Google Maps. And I guarantee you that when someone is looking for something specific, let's say they want, coffee, they're going to find La Taza Cafe in Middletown. And how far is Middletown from? It's very easy. It's a very straight run from Legoland to Middletown. We are on and off the highway. It is a very easy way to get here. And if the artists that I have here themselves use Google My Business as an indicator that their art is here, then people that are looking for whimsical art like Rob Gomolka might find him here, because guess what? He's here. He's in Emporium Square. So we're still training our merchants, and we're still training our vendors, and we're still training our artists to really always identify where they are, so that when people are Googling you, or they use their Google Nest in their room, or their Alexa app, that they're finding where we are. But I want to touch base back on what Anthony mentioned, and Amanda as well. I think it is up to us as individual businesses to make it our business to cross-promote each other, because that is how we're going to heighten the awareness of Storm King or Emporium or Legoland or whatever it is that's here in Orange County. It's important for all of us, because overall we're supporting all of the local small businesses here. So I, for example, want to have information here at Emporium Square about Storm King Art Center, because I'm going to have visitors here coming from New York City. They come from Brooklyn. They come from all over. And maybe they're here for the weekend. I'd love to be able to say, here, go check out Storm King. It is a great place. And guess what? They also have a cool village in Cornwall where you might have great coffee. Not as good as La Taza, but really close.
That's great. Yeah, I think that you guys are 100% right. I mean, just like really sort of like referring each other, like collaborating with each other would be a great way to reach bigger markets. And, this could be not only for other business, but for local artists as well. Absolutely. So I know we're about the time where like we take some questions from the audience. So maybe Sarah, can you read us some of the questions? Oh, sorry.
I sure can, Martin. Thank you. I had some questions of my own as well.
Oh, great. There you go.
This time flies by so fast. I want to know, for the arts businesses and creative entrepreneurs, what are the marketing channels we can use, or not just the individual artists, but the organizations and cultural entities, to get people in the door from outside of Orange County? How do we stretch beyond our borders, and what are the tools and suggestions that you have? Any of you, I guess, could answer this one.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Barbara touched on it, but creative marketing, really creative marketing, user-generated content, telling a story about your art, about what's unique about your art. I mean, we find that as fascinating, and get so many followers when you put those kind of stories up there. I refer to Barbara too, because Barbara is incredibly good at that, and telling the story, and she gets a lot of people to her because she's telling the story, not just putting up a piece of art, which could be incredible, but it's also a story. So that's just a hint of what people really are looking for, and what drives them into the areas when they can see themselves in that environment.
Thank you. Okay, let me try to find
But that
another.
will have to do with like if you have a website to have a strong SEO and all that stuff, right? But that a lot of times is not very intuitive for artists. For some artists, how even like writing into Instagram stories or whatever, even Facebook stories and stuff. That's also, I mean, it takes a little bit of a knack. Is that something that you feel that those something that people should spend more time on it and like kind of get a hold on it, or maybe they should be looking into hiring a third party? Yeah, Barbara, go ahead. I think you muted. I'm sorry.
There I am. So here's a funny thing, and this may not be true. I mean, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. A lot of artists are really good creatively, but they're very shy in person. They have this beautiful mind and they create, but they don't know how to market themselves. And so they depend on other people to potentially do it for them. Social media is free at the moment. Facebook, Instagram, use that TikTok, go in there and put on those quick videos. I have artists here that she does not really want to engage with people, but she will create these videos that will engage people. And then when they come shop at her store, she's like overwhelmed where all these people coming from. But I think what we need to do for these artists is continue to give them the platform, like a place like Emporium, to say, bring your art here, let's put these events together, and let's help promote you together. We have some artists that are really good at it, like Chris Van Buren, and then we've got some artists that are very, very quiet, like Rob DeMocha. And I'm sorry that I'm pulling names out there, but it's I've seen this, and it's very important for the artists to tap into resources like myself or their marketing agencies here in Orange County, because we have a lot of them that can help them put their name out there, put their art out there. You have someone like Gloria Bonelli that does fantastic in getting the word out for all these less than vocal artists. But we all have to do it as a community to let people know that we are a cultural hub, that we do have a lot of great art here, and we need people to recognize that we support the arts that we have here. So I think it's just a matter of continuing to have conversations. It's a matter of one of us, either of us, any of us, making sure that we bring in the artist community into whatever we're doing. Because although they may not want to network because they are introverted, maybe we can figure out a way to get creative to showcase their art strategically in our events, whether it's a local store or a place like Emporium, so that people know that we're going to help promote the artists that we have.
Right.
Can I just add to that? Because I thought that was terrific, Barbara. I think that I think you nailed a lot of eloquently a lot of things maybe I've been trying to say for the last 45 minutes. I also was struck that there's something else, which is it's about our community, but it's also about perception of our community. Amanda said at the beginning, the benefit of Orange County is that we're so diverse. It's very true. But it's also, I think arts and culture are big in that. They're about identity and how people think about us and how we think about ourselves. There are so many regions. I think of, I was in DC before here, and you think of the 80 miles south of DC as warehouses and big box stores. There's some beautiful farmland out there, but the perception of it is it's warehouses and big box stores. You think of Napa Valley, right? Everyone just has this image of rolling hills and vineyards, and great food and great evenings with wine and candlelight. You think of Cape Cod, right? Arts and culture are about how people perceive us, how we perceive ourselves, but also what we want to be as a community. And by having this cooperative work, by pitching and advertising ourselves as a community that believes in art and artists and being creative and the value of culture, not just putting an I am the worst at this because I like the facts and figures, right? Not just saying that arts and culture brings 44 million in GDP to Orange County, because that dehumanizes it. Whereas the purpose of arts and culture is to humanize ourselves. I think that is a great opportunity for us to really develop an image, given the breadth of the resources we have here.
Great. Very good.
Martin, there's one more question from Gary Schuster. I'm guessing it's for Amanda. Thank you, Anthony. Gary says, I see lots of hotels are there, also lots of Airbnb. Are we able to count them? Do they also pay bed tax? That's a very good question.
Yeah.
So Orange County has a occupancy tax agreement with Airbnb. So all the Airbnbs, which are well over 1,000 property units, I should say, we count them by units, well over 1,000, if not more, units of Airbnb. All of them are required to pay bed. All the visitors are required to pay bed tax. So yes, that's the answer to that one. And just so you know, Orange County's Airbnb vendor, we call it, is doing astronomically well. That is a quote from our Commissioner of Finance. And it is it's not just a growing trend that's going to come and go. It's really going to be here to stay, as well as our hotel, motel, lodging partners as well. But it's a growing sector, and folks like to have that option to stay in an Airbnb, stay in a traditional B&B, or stay in a hotel, motel when they come up here. But it is a growing sector.
Thank you. Martin, do I have time for one more question?
Yeah, really.
Okay, so I think it was Gloria, and I can't find her exact words, but she wanted to know and I guess each of you, maybe real quick, because it's 5:57, who is your target audience?
All right.
So I can start here. I'll be very quick on that. Pre-pandemic, it was international and domestic drive market consumers to come here and spend their money in Orange County. So drive markets meaning 3 hours or more, and also international. International will come back. We had an aggressive international campaign, and it will come back. And,
so to clarify, if you were to take a map and put a pin in the center of Orange County and then make like a radius of 3 hours out from the center, that's the target currently?
Yes, so we have PPC campaigns, Google AdWords, that's called, campaigns going on as we speak, Philadelphia, DC, and Boston. We get the Albany folks and we get the New York City Metro already, but the real big focus has been that drive market.
Fantastic. Thank you.
All right.
Anthony?
So from a Storm King perspective, our audience is as broad as it could be imagined. We look for and seek out experiences with people who love art, people who have no knowledge of art, people who've never been to an art center, people who have been going all their lives, the young, the old, people who love nature and know nothing about art, people who love art and know nothing about nature. We are blessed to have such a diverse site, and the diversity of our audience represents that.
Thank you, Barbara.
Our target audience is everybody. We want everybody from everywhere. Drive, come from Brooklyn, come from Pennsylvania, come from Connecticut, come from everywhere. If you're here, come check out Emporium. Fathers, mothers, cousins, nieces, I don't care. This is a place where you're gonna get handmade stuff, and it's going to be very unique. And instead of going to Etsy and ordering it online, you can see it in person, you can feel it, you can touch it, you can ask questions, you can see the crafters and the makers making it. This is a place where you grab a cup of coffee and you hang out. And that's who our audience is. It's just everyone, those people that appreciate handmade, handcrafted, the tangible. You know, one of the things that I recognized during the pandemic is people got burned so much by ordering things from Wish and not getting what they wished for. And now they want to come back and get real things that they can actually look at, touch, feel, smell, heighten those senses. And here at Emporium, it's, you know, for us, although our immediate target audience is our local community, because if the local community does not support a place like Emporium, we won't succeed. It's great to have people coming from Ellenville or people coming from across the river. That's wonderful. But at the end of the day, my true target audience is the community in which we live in, because these are the people that live in your community. When you shop at Emporium, you're helping a mom and a dad, a single mom and a dad, or people with children that live here locally in your community survive. And so the community themselves are the ones that we are looking for to shop here at Emporium. And then, of course, we reach for everybody else.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, everyone. And I think that, you know, I mean, if we can say anything, I mean, supporting all this business Emporium, I'm going to definitely go check it out. And like, I totally agree that us as community members, we have to also support the businesses in our communities and spread the word about all the beautiful things that everyone's doing. There's so many artists and galleries and, you know, and places like Storm King and Emporium and things like that. So please spread the word and come visit these places. With that said, I want to thank our panelists. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, Anthony. Thank you, Barbara, for being here. Thank you, Sarah and Gretchen. And thank you guys, the audience, for being here and like spending this hour with us. We
Thank
really
you so
enjoyed
much.
the time, and hopefully at some point we'll be able to, maybe some point soon, we'll be able to have these conversations in person.